I'm not sure when it all started to go wrong, but hindsight is 2020, right? My name is Mike, and I've been married to Jenna for 7 years. We had your typical suburban life, 2 kids, a dog, and a cozy little house. At first, everything felt perfect, but things changed over time. The little things that used to make us laugh turned into annoyances. Jenna became increasingly distant, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why. I started noticing subtle shifts in her behavior. She was spending more time at her yoga classes, claiming she needed to find herself or something like that. I was supportive at first, thinking it was just a phase. But as the weeks turned into months, the late nights and mysterious phone calls started piling up. I'd catch her sneaking glances at her phone, quickly shutting it off when I walked into the room. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that I was being paranoid. But deep down, a knot in my stomach told me something was off. Then there was the day she came home late from yoga and had a horrible excuse at the ready. "Sorry, babe," we ended up doing an extra long session. There was a new instructor. She smiled, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I mean, who does an extra long yoga class without giving a heads up? Add to that the hickeys on her neck that she just shrugged off as bruises from yoga. Really, I've never heard of yoga leading to marks like that. I started digging deeper. I looked through her social media, trying to find clues. I noticed she had been tagging a guy named Mark in her posts. Every picture they were in together, she looked radiant and carefree. I had never met Mark, but I found it unsettling that she seemed so alive around him. The more I looked, the more I felt like I was stepping into a nightmare. When I confronted her about it, she laughed it off. "You're being ridiculous. He's just a friend from class." But I could see it in her eyes. She was hiding something. Then came the breaking point. One Saturday, I decided to surprise her with a brunch date, wanting to rekindle our connection. As I pulled into the parking lot of the restaurant, I noticed her car parked outside. I thought maybe she was running early, but as I walked closer, my heart sank. There she was, laughing and flirting with Mark at a table outside. My stomach twisted in a way I didn't know was possible. I stood frozen, watching them. She leaned in, whispering something in his ear before he leaned in to kiss her cheek. It felt like the world had collapsed around me and I couldn't breathe. I stormed home, my mind racing. I felt anger boiling inside me, but more than that, I felt utterly betrayed. I thought about all the moments we shared, the promises we made, and how easily she tossed them aside. As I sat there in our living room, replaying the scene over and over, I knew I had to confront her. This wasn't going to end well, but I couldn't let this go without a fight. When Jenna finally came home, everything felt charged in the air. I was ready for a showdown. "So, how was yoga today?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with fury. She looked puzzled, but there was a flicker of fear in her eyes. I could see she knew. I was onto her. "Mike, what are you talking about?" She replied, trying to play innocent, but I had already had enough of the lies. I launched into the accusations, each word hitting her like a punch. Jenna tried to laugh it off, claiming I was being dramatic, but there was no way to deny the truth. The confrontation escalated, and she finally admitted she had been seeing Mark. The relief I felt from finally knowing was overshadowed by the heartbreak of her betrayal. The admission hung in the air between us, dense and suffocating. Jenna's face shifted from defensiveness to a sort of resigned acceptance as I laid out everything I had seen, everything I suspected. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, trying to formulate the next excuse, the next lie she could tell to explain this mess away. "Mike, it's not what you think. Mark is he understands me. You've been so distant lately." The words dripped from her lips like poison. "I just needed someone to talk to. You never listened to me anymore." I felt my heart race with anger at her audacity. How could she twist this around? On me, I had been right there, trying my best to support her through every whim, every yoga class that started to take her away from us. "Understand you. Is that what this is about? Because last time I checked, I was your husband, not some wall you could vent to. You let me find out like this, through some random brunch." She opened her mouth to respond, but the guilt on her face was undeniable. It was a moment of clarity. She knew she had crossed a line, and no amount of justifications could fix this. I felt a deep sadness start to wash over me, mixing with the anger. It was a betrayal of everything I thought we had built together. I thought about our kids, how they would feel when they found out their mother had chosen to cheat. This wasn't just about us anymore. Do you even care about what you've done? I said, feeling the heat rising in my chest. I mean, did any of this mean anything to you? She hesitated, and for a split second I saw a flicker of regret. I didn't want to hurt you, Mike, But I cut her off. Didn't want to hurt me. You hurt me the moment you decided to betray our vows. Tell me, is Mark going to be your next yoga instructor too? I spat the words out, my voice trembling with a mix of fury and pain. That was when I realized that it wasn't just anger I was feeling. It was the falling apart of our life that washed over me like a cold wave. I thought about all the mundane moments we shared, the laughter, the love, and how easily those had been overshadowed by her choices. Jenna's eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't ready to feel sorry for her. I had spent so many years putting her first, and now it felt like she had ripped my heart out without a second thought. Her tears didn't offer comfort, they felt more like an afterthought. I messed up, I know, but I want to fix this. We can go to counseling, I swear. I'll do anything to make it right. The pleading in her voice ignited a sense of bitterness within me. Did she really think I would just forgive her because she was? Crying, I took a step back, needing to breathe to collect my thoughts. There was an odd mixture of emotions swirling inside me. I should have felt complete devastation, but instead, a part of me felt liberated. The idea of revenge slithered into my mind, not so much in a violent or destructive way, but in a way that would force her to see the weight of her actions. I didn't know exactly how I would execute it, but I realized I was done being the passive partner in this relationship. If she could go out and seek someone else's comfort, then maybe it was time for me to reclaim my sense of self. Jenna, I said, my voice steadier now, you need to think about what you really want, because I'm not going to beg you to stay. You made your choice, and now it's time for me to make mine. Her face fell, and for the first time I could see the depth of what she had lost, but I wasn't going to take pity on her. I turned and walked away, feeling an overwhelming rush of emotions. I needed to think, to gather my thoughts, away from her chaos. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I thought about how much I had taken for granted. My heart ached for the love I felt had been shattered, but there was also a flicker of determination. I would no longer be the forgotten husband. I would reclaim my life, and every choice would be made from a place of strength. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I wasn't sure how I would execute the revenge, but I knew it would be something that would show Jenna the gravity of her actions. It was time for her to understand what it felt like to lose someone who once cherished her. I spent the next few days in a sort of daze. Every time I saw Jenna, I felt that familiar pang of anger mixed with betrayal. It was tough to be in the same house with her, knowing what I knew. She was trying her best to fix things, showering me with apologies and promises of change, but none of it felt genuine. It was almost as if she was performing, and I was the audience that had already turned away. I decided to put my plan into action. I needed to make her feel the consequences of her choices. It wasn't about revenge in the traditional sense. I didn't want to hurt her physically or emotionally in a way that would scar her for life. I just wanted her to understand the weight of betrayal. I started with small changes in my behavior. I pulled back emotionally, focusing on my own interests and happiness. I began reconnecting with old friends. I spent more time at the gym, trying to channel my anger into something productive. I even picked up my old guitar, rediscovering an old passion I had neglected over the years. The more I focused on myself, the more I felt a renewed sense of freedom. I started to regain my confidence, and it felt invigorating. I also began going out more. I would leave Jenna with the kids on weekends and spend time with friends, or even just enjoy my own company. I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt empowered. Jenna would text and call, asking where I was, and I would casually respond that I was out with friends, leaving the rest to her imagination. One Friday night, I decided to hit up a bar with a couple of buddies. I hadn't been out in ages, and I was ready to enjoy myself. As I sipped my drink, I noticed a group of women at the bar, laughing and chatting. One of them caught my eye. Her name was Lisa. She had a vibrant smile and seemed genuinely interested in the conversation we struck up. It felt nice to flirt a little, to feel attractive again, even if it was just for the night. Jenna had always been the center of my universe, and while I had loved that, I realized that I had lost a part of myself in the process. That night, while I laughed and chatted with Lisa, I felt a little spark of hope. The thought of moving on, of finding someone who appreciated me, felt exhilarating. Of course, I didn't take it too far. I wasn't ready to jump into something serious, but I enjoyed the attention. I let myself laugh, feel wanted, and remember what it was like to have fun without worrying about someone else's happiness. I think that's the moment I really started to let go of the pain Jenna had caused. After a few weeks of this newfound freedom, I decided it was time to confront Jenna again. I called her to meet me at a coffee shop, choosing a public place for a reason. I wanted to show her that I was in control now, that I was moving forward with or without her. When she arrived, she looked slightly nervous. I could see that she had dressed up, trying to put her best foot forward. But I was no longer impressed by her efforts. I needed her to know that this wasn't just a game I was playing. Jenna, I started, keeping my tone even. I think we need to talk about where this is going. I've been doing a lot of thinking since that night. She nodded, her eyes wide with anticipation. I know I messed up, Mike. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Counseling, therapy, you name it. I can't lose you. I raised my hand to stop her. What you don't understand is that I'm not making this decision just for you. I'm making it for me. I can't be the husband you want me to be if I keep pretending that everything is fine. Her expression shifted from hopeful to fearful. Are you saying you want to leave? Is that what this is about? I took a deep breath, knowing this was the moment of truth. I'm not sure. I'm not ready to make any permanent decisions yet, but I need you to understand that I won't stand for being disrespected. I'm reclaiming my life and my happiness. A flicker of realization crossed her face, and I could tell that it was finally beginning to sink in. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she stammered, her voice shaking. Didn't mean to. You made a choice, Jenna. You chose Mark, and now I'm choosing myself. I watched as the tears welled up in her eyes. I felt conflicted, but deep inside I knew I had to stay strong. This was a crucial moment for me, not just for her but for my own healing. As we parted ways that day, I could see a change in her. It was as if she realized she had been living in a fantasy while I was left to pick up the pieces. I wanted to believe that maybe this would lead to something better for both of us. But at that moment, I knew I had to focus on what I wanted, regardless of whether she could follow suit. As I walked away from the coffee shop, I felt a surge of empowerment. I was no longer the victim of my circumstances. I was ready to chart my own path forward, whatever that might look like. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. Jenna seemed to oscillate between desperate attempts to win me back and moments of cold silence. It was as if she was trying to navigate a maze of her own making, unsure of how to fix what she had broken. Meanwhile, my own journey felt refreshing yet daunting. I was beginning to embrace this new version of myself, one that was independent, confident, and unafraid to voice my needs. I kept up my routine of going out with friends and dedicating time to myself. I even went back to some of my old hobbies like playing guitar and writing songs. It felt good to express myself, to channel my feelings into something creative. I often found myself reflecting on the past, the good times Jenna and I had shared, but I was also learning to let go of the anger. I didn't want to be consumed by bitterness. I wanted to reclaim my joy. On a particularly bright Saturday afternoon, I decided to take the kids to the park. I wanted to show them that even amidst the chaos, life could still be fun and fulfilling. As I watched them play on the swings, I felt a warmth in my heart. Despite everything that had happened, I found comfort in knowing I would always be their dad. They were my priority, and I vowed to give them the best life possible, no matter what was happening between Jenna and me. Later that evening, I received a message from Jenna. She wanted to meet again, this time at a different coffee shop. I felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. What more could she possibly say? But I agreed, curious to see how this conversation would unfold. When I arrived, she was already there, fidgeting with her hands. The moment she saw me, her face lit up, but it quickly shifted to an expression of concern. "I've been thinking a lot," she began, her voice trembling slightly. I really want to fix this, Mike. I've started going to therapy and I think it's helping me understand why I did what I did. I raised an eyebrow, trying to remain open-minded but guarded. That's a start, I guess, but it doesn't change the fact that you made a choice to betray me. How can I trust that you won't do it again? Her eyes widened and I could see the pain in her expression. I know I've hurt you and I can't take that back. But I want to earn your trust again. I want us to be a family. Her plea tugged at my heart. I remembered the love we once shared, the dreams we had built together, but I also remembered the gut-wrenching feeling of betrayal that had clouded everything. Jenna, it's not that simple. Trust isn't something you can just earn back overnight. It's going to take time. She nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. I understand. I'm willing to be patient. I just need you to give me a chance. Part of me wanted to fold, to give in too. The familiarity of our relationship and the love I once had for her, but I couldn't ignore the voice in my head reminding me of the reality of our situation. I'm not sure what that chance looks like right now. I need space to figure things out for both of us. Her expression fell, but she quickly regained her composure. I'll respect that. I just hope you know that I love you, and I want to make this right. We left the coffee shop that day with a heavy silence hanging between us. I didn't feel the closure I had hoped for, but I also didn't feel completely shut off from the possibility of reconciliation. As I drove home, I thought about what it would take to heal. I wasn't ready to jump back into a relationship, but I also didn't want to completely sever our ties. In the days that followed, I continued focusing on my own growth. I began exploring some casual dating, enjoying the thrill of meeting new people without the weight of commitment. It was liberating, and I felt like I was reclaiming a part of myself that I had lost. Yet, Jenna lingered. In the back of my mind, I would see her occasionally at the kids' events, and while it was awkward, I could feel a shift between us. She seemed more aware of her actions, more deliberate in her efforts to engage positively with me. There was a newfound respect in our interactions, albeit tentative. One evening, as I was putting the kids to bed, I found myself reflecting on my journey. I realized that while Jenna had hurt me deeply, it didn't define me. I was finding my way, discovering my own strengths and learning to stand on my own. I had come to understand that moving forward didn't necessarily mean I had to close the door on Jenna forever. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to rebuild what had been lost. But it would take time, mutual effort, and a commitment from both sides to make it work. As I kissed the kids goodnight, I felt a mix of hope and uncertainty for the future. Whatever lay ahead, I knew I was ready to face it, head on, with my heart open to the possibilities that awaited. The following weeks felt like a delicate balancing act. I was navigating this new normal with Jenna while trying to maintain my newfound independence. During our brief exchanges, I noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. She was more attentive, less defensive, and genuinely seemed to be working on herself. It was hard to ignore the flicker of hope it ignited within me, but I remained cautious. One Saturday morning, I decided to take the kids out for breakfast. As we sat in the cozy diner, I couldn't help but overhear a conversation at the next table. A couple was animatedly discussing their weekend plans, and it struck me how easy it was for them to laugh and connect. I envied that sense of joy, that effortless companionship. I wanted that again, but the memory of Jenna's betrayal was a heavy anchor weighing me down. Later that day, I picked up my phone and saw a message from Jenna. "Can we talk? I want to show you something." My heart raced at the thought. Was she finally ready to share the progress she had made in therapy? I agreed to meet her at the park where we used to take the kids. When I arrived, I was surprised to see Jenna sitting on a bench, looking more composed than I had seen her in a long time. "Thank you for coming, Mike," she said, her eyes sincere. "I've been doing a lot of thinking and I want to show you that I'm serious about making things right." She pulled out a small folder from her bag and handed it to me. I opened it to find a series of documents, certificates from therapy sessions and workshops. "I'm really committed to understanding why I did what I did," she explained, her voice steady. "I want to be a better person, not just for you but for myself and our kids." I flipped through the papers, trying to process the weight of what she was presenting. "This is a lot," I said, struggling to find the right words. "I appreciate your effort, but how do I know this isn't just a phase? I understand your skepticism, she replied, her tone earnest. But I'm trying to show you that I'm taking responsibility for my actions. I've also started journaling, reflecting on my feelings and how I can improve. I want to share that journey with you. I was struck by her vulnerability. It was refreshing, like a breath of fresh air, yet it also made me feel conflicted. I had become so accustomed to guarding my heart that the prospect of opening up again felt daunting. Jenna, I want to believe you, I said carefully. But trust isn't something that just comes back overnight. It's going to take time. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I know. I don't expect you to forgive me immediately, but I want to show you that I'm committed to making this work. I miss you, Mike. I miss us. Her honesty struck a chord deep within me. Despite everything, I couldn't deny that I missed her too. The laughter, the shared dreams, those moments felt like a distant memory, but they were still a part of my life. I took a deep breath, knowing that while I couldn't erase the past, I could choose how to approach the future. I think we should take things slowly, I suggested. We can start by spending more time together, just us, see how it feels without any pressure. A flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. I'd love that. She replied, a smile breaking through her tears. Thank you for giving me this chance. As we parted ways that day, I felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty. I knew I was stepping into uncharted territory, and while it was scary, it was also invigorating. I had spent so long feeling like I was on the sidelines of my own life, but now I was ready to take a step back toward Jenna, cautiously yet intentionally. In the weeks that followed, we began to carve out time for each other. Our dates were simple picnics in the park, coffee chats, and family outings with the kids. It felt surreal to be reconnecting in a way that was both familiar and foreign. Each moment was a reminder of what we had lost, but also a chance to build something new. I could see the effort Jenna was putting in. She would share snippets from her therapy sessions, her reflections on our past, and how she was working to be more mindful of her feelings. It was a delicate dance, one where we were both learning to communicate again. I found myself opening up, sharing my own feelings of hurt and confusion. One evening, we went for a long walk after dinner, the sun setting in a beautiful array of colors. As we strolled, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. You know, it's nice to just be here with you, I said, feeling the warmth of the moment. I've missed this. Jenna looked at me, a soft smile playing on her lips. I've missed it too. I want to keep working on this. I want to prove to you that I can be the partner you deserve. As I gazed at her, I realized that while the road ahead would be challenging, I was willing to explore it with her. I didn't know what the future held, but I felt a sense of determination to navigate it together. I was learning that healing wasn't linear. It was a process full of ups and downs. There would be moments of doubt, moments where I questioned whether we were doing the right thing. But I also knew that I couldn't let the past define our future. Together, we had the potential to create something beautiful if we both committed to the journey ahead. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt a sense of hope for the first time in a long while. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with the promise of growth, understanding, and ultimately, love. As the weeks turned into months, Jenna and I continued our journey of healing. It was far from perfect. We had our ups and downs, but we were learning to communicate in ways that we had neglected before. Each step we took felt like a cautious leap into unknown territory, but we were both committed to making it work. We embraced the challenges that came our way. There were nights when the past loomed large, and I found myself wrestling with old memories of betrayal. I would wake up in a cold sweat, heart racing, but Jenna was always there, ready to talk it through. Vulnerability became our new currency, and slowly but surely, I began to feel the walls around my heart start to crack. One evening, after a particularly intense conversation where I had shared my fears about the future, Jenna surprised me. I've been thinking about us, Mike, she said, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. I want to take this to the next level. I want us to be a team again, fully committed. I could feel my heart racing. It was a big step. What do you mean? I asked, needing clarity. I think we should consider going to couples therapy together. I know we've made strides, but I want to ensure we have the tools to navigate this moving forward. she explained, sincerity radiating from her. The idea struck me as both daunting and encouraging. I had always felt therapy was a valuable resource, but I had never considered it for us as a couple. "I think that's a great idea," I replied, feeling a surge of excitement. It was a sign of growth and a testament to her commitment. We started therapy the following week, and it opened up a new layer of understanding for both of us. Our therapist guided us through difficult conversations and taught us the importance of active listening. It was an eye-opening experience, one that helped us connect on a deeper level. I began to appreciate Jenna's perspective and the reasons behind her actions, while she made an effort to understand the hurt her choices had caused me. Through therapy, I learned to articulate my feelings more clearly, and Jenna practiced expressing her vulnerabilities. We established new communication strategies, which helped us navigate tense moments without resorting to blame or defensiveness. I could see her commitment to change reflected in her actions, and I was learning to trust her again, slowly but surely. One evening, after a particularly enlightening session, we returned home feeling uplifted and connected. We shared a quiet moment in the living room, sipping tea and talking about our kids. As I watched her animatedly discuss their latest antics, I felt a warmth spread inside me. It was a feeling I thought I had lost forever. "Jenna," I said, "I've noticed how hard you've been working on yourself and on us. It means so much to me." She smiled, her eyes sparkling. "I want us to be happy again, Mike. I've realized that I can't take our relationship for granted. You mean the world to me." In that moment, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. I realized that while the scars of betrayal would always be a part of our story, they didn't have to define us. We were creating something new, something far more resilient. As the months passed, I found myself more at peace. I was learning to let go of the anger, to embrace forgiveness, not just for Jenna but for myself as well. I had carried the weight of betrayal for so long, and while it was a part of my past, it didn't have to dictate my future. Our family began to feel whole again. We started planning family outings, game nights, and even mini vacations. The laughter returned to our home, and I could see the kids thriving in the warmth of a united front. They were oblivious to the turmoil we had faced, and that was how it should be. One sunny afternoon, we all piled into the car for a spontaneous trip to the beach. As we drove along the coastline, the scenery was breathtaking, but it was nothing compared to the feeling in my heart. I glanced over at Jenna, who was chatting with the kids, and I realized that I was genuinely happy. It was then that I knew we had turned a significant corner. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but we were no longer bound by pain of the past. We were learning to navigate life as partners, each step filled with intention. As we spent the day building sandcastles and splashing in the waves, I felt a sense of hope for the future. I was grateful for the journey we'd taken, the lessons learned, and the growth we had both experienced. I understood now that love isn't just about the good times, it's about how you rise together through adversity. At the end of the day, as we packed up to leave, I took a moment to breathe in the salty air. I turned to Jenna and said, "No matter what happens from here, I'm glad we're in this together." She smiled back, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the setting sun. "Me too, Mike. We'll keep working on this together." And in that moment, I felt a renewed sense of commitment. We were both willing to put in the effort to face the challenges ahead and to rebuild the love that had been tested. Whatever came next, I knew we would face it side by side, stronger than before.